Hello, I'm your host, Reen Diane of the Focus Lounge podcast. I just want to take a moment and thank you for tuning into this episode. I appreciate you following along the journey, and I look forward to seeing you in the lounge. Hello, my name is Reen Diane, and I'm your host of the Focus Lounge podcast. Today, I have my guest, Miss Angelee Alston, also known as the amazing Angelee. Welcome her. Okay, so to get started, Miss Angelee Alston is the founder of Purposely Chosen for You, and she is going to share with us, this is Domestic Violence Month, she's going to share with us some things, her purpose, and her cause. So, no further ado, the amazing Angelee.
Thank you so much. So just like you said, I actually went into having my own, enterprise, and what I mean by that is it's supposed to be a ministry. Purposely Chosen for You came about from my book, which is actually called Purposely Chosen.
Okay.
And remember when I said I wanted to do something to help others, and not just healing for myself, but healing for others.
Yes.
And that's been my mission to not name it just Purposely Chosen, but for you. Meaning for whoever reads this is for you.
Gotcha.
And so that's how that came about.
So, when you got inspired to write your book and to start the business, what actually led you into forming a cause or sparking awareness in domestic violence?
So, unfortunately, I'm going to say I'm surviving. Not really. A lot of people say I am a survivor, but I'm going to say I'm still surviving domestic violence, just because triggers can happen. And unfortunately, during the pandemic, we know a lot of things happen for a lot of people. And I still went through domestic violence. Now, when we say, for some people, they think domestic violence is just physical, but it is emotional as well.
Yes.
And it can take a toll on your whole mental state, where you feel like you can just go on or make it out of a situation. So I believe that it takes healing.
Yes.
And if you're not healed in certain areas, you're going to stay in that state, and it's not going to only affect you, but your children, and then so forth. It's going to affect their children. So I had to come to a point where enough is enough, and I had to, seek healing, and that's how the book came about, with writing. And I started writing in a journal to express myself, and realized that somebody else need to hear this. It wasn't until I was speaking to another young lady who said, somebody need to hear your testimony. And so that's how that came about. I started with an anthology with some other ladies, because I felt that was supportive with joining some other ladies. But then I said my testimony is more than a chapter. And
I'm going to stop you for a second. A lot of people growing up in, I don't want to say my age, but I don't mind my age, but growing up in an era where what's said in the home or what's done in this home stays in this house. And so we don't really speak out as often as we should, because we think that our story, our business, if you will, is nobody else's business. But then I've learned that your business is the very thing that can save somebody else's life.
Exactly.
So a lot of people, we need to get to a point in life that we are willing to share our story. It's not gossip if it's true.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then a lot of children, as you mentioned, they may not go through, a lot of people might not think, oh, well, they're not being domestically abused. If you're cussing your child out, they're being abused. And then you wonder why you get the phone call from the school.
In school.
Because your child was in trauma.
Acting out.
So they don't have any other reason to act out because of you. So let me get back on your story. Story.
Yes.
Okay, so tell us a little bit more about what really transpired. Like, I know you said in 2022 or 2000, right? No, 2020.
2020. And so I started writing.
Well, what I'm saying is 2020, you mentioned something about triggers, okay?
Yes.
So when you say triggers, was there something prior to the time of the pandemic that caused you to feel like you have been in a domestic situation?
Most definitely. When I speak of triggers, it's because something occurred in my life in the past, and not realizing all the way back to my childhood. And sometimes when children go through a lot of things, say emotional abuse or physical abuse, they block it out. And a lot of times that can resurface maybe in their teenage years or their adulthood. And that's a sign that they were not healed from something that was traumatic that occurred in their life. And so, I always wondered, why am I attracting the wrong type of love?
Gotcha.
That's the question. So that was a question for myself. Well, why am I still going through this feeling of being like neglected all over again, disrespected in a way that you feel like that's not the right type of love, but at the same time, for some reason, I'm attracted to this.
Gotcha. But you know what? A lot of people say, well, I don't understand why, but it's what you witness growing up. If you're not in a household where people are just like really experience true love or telling them that you love you without using their fists or their words that are abusive, a lot of times we attract to that is because of what we've seen growing up.
Right.
You know, and a lot of times, you know, they say, oh, well, my father wasn't in the household. Well, a lot of young girls, they go out looking for their father.
Figure. Yes.
For their father in relationships. Well, I want to watch you with that man. Well,
yes.
Because you forced her to, her mind, her neglect.
Something was missing.
Yes. So she's trying to find that void.
Right.
And fill it. So a lot of times people don't understand that domestic violence isn't always getting socked in the eye.
Right.
You know? But go ahead with your story.
Right. So I had to come to a conclusion for myself because it's used to be said that if you go to therapy, you know, something's wrong. You know, back in the day, the family said, you don't need to go there, this and that, or that's I'm going to say, I hate to say it, but the white thing. Black folks don't go to therapy and all that, but not so. You have to get to the root and of why something's occurring in your life. And like you said, it could be a generational thing.
Yes.
Because that's what you were used to as a child. And then you feel like that's the way I need to treat my child. So, but I had to get to the point where I had to find out why. And so I started researching, going back to not just those so-called nightmares, but realized that those are things that really happened and occurred in my life as a child.
Rather than blocking them out.
Yeah.
And we are taught, our race of people are taught to kind of like, if you don't mind, if you don't mind, it don't matter. And a lot of times we try to put things in the back of our mind, but it's actually killing us because we're suffering in silence.
That's
we're suffering in silence, and so we have not trained ourselves to be vocal. You know what I mean? And you know, you're gonna tell somebody that for a girl, you're gonna be embarrassed. But you the one who did it to me.
Yeah. And a lot of families, well, I could say for myself, when my book came out, I pretty much upset some people. And it was okay because I felt like you were not around me when I was going through. I know I was called a liar. You know, oh, she's just trying to get attention. But see, this is what happened to a lot of people who have gone through traumatic experiences, and they're ashamed to get it out and talk about it because they're afraid of what's going to be the responses afterwards. So yeah, but I had to get there, not just for me, but for my children and grandchildren, because I didn't want this to keep triggering down to them unhealed trauma.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So in your book, Purposely Chosen. It's a memoir. Can you tell us what people will find in your book?
So the one thing they will find is forgiveness.
Learn to forgive themselves or forgiving others, or both?
Both.
Okay.
Forgiving themselves, because we can carry that and feel like the guilt of that can just hinder us from advancing in so much. So one is forgiving ourselves, and then two, forgiving maybe the person that you felt like committed the trauma. And it's not really just for us, but again, like I said, for our family. Because that unit is so important, if we don't have that support, because sometimes family members don't know. Right? So if they don't know, how can the family heal from it? And I found that once my children, who are now adults, become to realization of, oh, now we understand, because they're at an age now that they can't understand, what was occurring in the home, what they saw, what they heard, because we think children are not hearing and seeing. They can be at the door and they hear everything.
Absolutely.
And they internalize everything, just like you mentioned about why they acting out. They're crying out.
Yeah.
They're crying out.
Yeah.
So, I'm grateful. This is just I felt like was my healing, my therapy, writing it out, getting it out, and not only for me, but to the responses of this book was I never would have known, because you see the facade, the outer appearance is because we don't want anyone to know. We can dress it up, make it up, how we want to, but internally still suffering. So the responses of even from family members, friends, oh, now we know, even from my childhood friends in the neighborhood used to say, oh, wow, now we know why you were so quiet. You didn't talk, So I knew I did the right thing, not for writing about it, but also speaking about it now, like different platforms to reach so many who were ashamed and just felt like there's no help for me. But that's a lie. Clearly that's a lie.
Because it's a thing that our tests that we go through in life do become testimonies. And a lot of times, some people test a lie, but when you're telling the truth about something, a lot of kickback is going to come.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to try to keep you from moving forward. But we have to tell our stories. And on the Focus Lounge podcast, my goal is to help spark awareness about things that we might not otherwise know. That's just like, I'm not going to share my story right now, but we'll dig a little deeper. But that's what caused me to start the Focus Lounge podcast, because I was not aware of type 2 diabetes or how things affect you. I knew of it, but I didn't know anything about the symptoms. So with that being said, you are an advocate for domestic violence, and you have an event coming up October the 26th. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, yeah. So, like I was speaking of, Purposely Chosen, a memoir is not just a book. It's going to be, of course, a step into my purpose.
Okay.
And with that being said, I felt like in order to not just write about it, but also connect. And I'm using this to connect with so many different ladies who have experienced trauma in many different ways, not just domestic violence, but maybe suffering with grief, a loss of a child, a spouse, loss of a job, because there's so many women who've gone through their careers and all of a sudden you got to go, like that's emotional trauma. Whatever they have endured, with this month being breast cancer awareness as well as domestic violence, I just want to connect with so many ladies who feel like this trauma took a toll on me, and I am determined not to let that hinder me to move forward with dreams, goals, living. That part right there, living. Because I was at that point where I felt like I was told I would never be anything, I would be like my mother, because that's another story.
Okay.
My mother, what she's gone through.
Mm-hmm.
But that I felt like so low that I couldn't do anything. And this right here ministry for me is to not to say I'm no longer ashamed.
Right.
And I'm gonna walk in this purpose now,
There you go.
and reach others, because I have heard other ladies saying I could never do that, and wow, if I was you, I wouldn't have forgave, or I wouldn't have did this.
Mm-hmm.
So this is to show, yes, you can.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
you
then,
can.
I mean, if you believe in the higher power
Come on.
and you want to go to heaven, you better forgive. Because, God is just to forgive us of the things that we do wrong. So we have to forgive others. And we don't forget. We don't forget. But we do have to, forgive.
Yeah.
So tell us about the event.
So the event is October 26th. And it's a Saturday, so it's most definitely going to be convenient for a lot of those who work. But October 26th, and it's going to be midday from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. And the theme is "You Were Predestined for This."
Okay.
And because I believe, you go through things for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And then whether it's to make you stronger, better, but most definitely for somebody else,
Yes.
so that you can share and help lift them up, okay?
Yes.
But You Were Predestined for This is pretty much I believe is going to ensure that you can do this.
Okay.
And stepping into my purpose means so much that I had to name it, with my business name, Purposely Chosen for You.
There you go.
And so I believe it's going to be a great turnout just for those who need that push of saying, I always wanted to do something like that. I always wanted to write a book. I always wanted to own my own business. I want to just meet and greet with like-minded people.
Yes.
Who feel like that I didn't believe in myself.
Mm-hmm.
So now let's get together, support each other. Just again, like what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
This is amazing with, helping others get out their dream.
Yes.
And so that's one thing that, I say that someone can look at you as well and say, well, I always wanted to do that.
Right.
And now I don't have to hinder that. So this is supposed to be something that says, let's do it now.
Yes. Better together.
Yeah.
So what can they expect at the event? Is it like just networking? Are you going to have guest speakers or,
Yeah, so not only meeting and greeting,
Okay.
but I will have a little bit more of my testimony
Okay.
and sharing what I did to actually create this book here. I will have a couple of guest speakers who also I've been knowing for a little bit of my time, and they're going to share their testimony. What's so amazing is we didn't know all the things that we were all going through. Because like I said, we were probably ashamed of what we went through, but just to see the growth of where we're all at, and that's why I wanted to make sure they were part of it.
Yeah.
And so, but they're going to share their testimony. We're going to have some activities.
Okay.
Most definitely have some activities where we're going to get rid of all the things that try to hinder us.
Okay.
And we're going to leave it at the door on that day and move forward. And we're going to share some ideas how to move forward.
Okay.
Again, connecting with like-minded ladies who are going to just step into their purpose on that day.
Okay.
Yeah.
So listen, if you're here in the Charlotte area, come out on October 26th. Meet some amazing women that are going to share their story, dive deeper into the amazing Angelee story, as well as just discover some things that might be hidden within you. A lot of times we fake it to make it, but when we're faking it, we're killing ourselves. So it's better to be real, be true to you, be true. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
and some great giveaways.
Okay, you're gonna have some giveaways.
Great giveaways that we're gonna give out to. Yeah.
And can you tell them how they can get tickets and where it's located?
Yeah, so it is, the tickets are available on Eventbrite. If you bring up You Were Predestined For This, you will see with the tickets availability, they're just $20 now.
$20,
look, $20, Starbucks,
Yes.
your lunch.
Yes.
I mean, what great way to spend your $20.
Yes.
So most definitely it's going to actually be located at 8414 Bellhaven Boulevard. It's a great new space that a young lady is actually providing this space, and she's a wonderful person too.
Good.
But yes, Queen City Social Space, shout out to her. But yes, I look forward to seeing you all there.
Yep. So, again, we're talking about domestic violence. November is Domestic Violence Month. If you are going through something, if you see something, let's try to tell somebody. If you see something, tell somebody.
Yeah.
If that person doesn't want to open up and be the one to tell, you telling could very well save their lives as well as others. So I would just like to thank the amazing Angelee for joining us on today and sharing her story. And if you guys get an opportunity, go get that ticket and join her at her workshop. Thank you.